the Biotrust.
Biotrust, okay.
One
Yummy.
scooping of the cassava, and I call it the kamikaze.
Yeah, it looks like a bottle of mud. Yum. Yum.
No, there's actually no mud in here, but it tastes all right.
I remember when I was trying all the space foods, all the liquid foods, the blended foods back when I was having all the intestinal issues.
Oh yeah.
Just trying to get some calories in me because I was like 150 pounds and withering. Yeah, fun times.
Anyway,
science food. Fun foods.
Yeah.
So Biden dropped out.
Biden dropped out.
That's I was resigned to a Trump presidency, and I was just gonna watch him catch the world on fire and then stare accusingly at you the whole time.
Well, you may still get your chance to do that.
Maybe now all of a sudden now Trump is the old crazy guy that's running for president, and the other person is not. With Biden, he was an older, crazier guy, senile guy, and suddenly, with the flip of a switch, the other candidate is far more rational, far more with it, and far more stable. Which at this point,
that's all I want.
That's all I want. I'm not even going to be humble. That's not even a humble opinion.
Okay, so
that
your
is
opinion.
Trump is a bombastic World Wrestling Federation caricature of a human being. Right? He is unstable. He is uncouth. He is loud. He is insulting. He is ignorant, and he does quid pro quos, and he is really the worst of the worst. And I don't know how you could not think that, but you don't. I don't know how you got there. He was, before he ran for president, the worst of the worst. And now you're going, but gosh, tax money. And I'm going, okay, man. But at this point,
do I actually sound like that? That sound a little like Mickey Mouse. Do I sound like that?
It does sound a little like Mickey Mouse.
I'm only asking, and I'd be glad if I did sound like that, actually, frankly, because I've never cared to do anything at all for the sound of my voice.
No, you don't sound like that. It's just, and it's not just you. It's a lot of other people that see a tall, orange, crazy person and think, that's my guy. And I go, oh, okay. Wow. And you're not alone. I mean, millions of other people voted for him. He is a caricature. He is the president right out of Idiocracy. And half the country went, yeah! No. Okay. If you're going to go there, I suppose. But now, with Harris, she is, she was described to me as one of the most progressive politicians of congresspeople in Congress. Was it Congress? Yeah. She was one of the most progressive out there. And I went, oh, well, okay. Done. I'm happy. If most people think, if the people that don't like her think she's progressive, and the people that like her think she's too progressive, I'm like, man, happy day. I'll take it. I don't see how she's progressive. Although she was a cop, and now she's running against a felon. I think that's appropriate.
And by cop, you mean a prosecutor.
So I think a lot of things are fun. Was she just a prosecutor? Or wasn't, I think she was a police officer. Maybe she wasn't.
I'd be very surprised.
Somebody told me she was a cop.
She worked on the beat.
That's what I wanted. I wanted it to be really big so I could fucking not see. There we go. I hate this keyboard. Kamala Harris, a cop. Former top. Oh, they're calling her. No, continue without supporting. Jesus Christ. Capitalism fucking ruins everything. I guess just the top prosecutor. California's top cop also developed tough on crime. No. Campaign in Gold State as top cop also developed tough on crime reputation as district attorney. So she was a prosecutor and district attorney.
Yep.
Okay. Lawyer. Imagine a politician is another lawyer. Okay. So many lawyers, so many economists, and so few social scientists or actual evolutionists or psychologists. They're all lawyers and economists. And we wonder why we're having so much problem with the economy and with society. I don't know why. I guess we should get another lawyer or a WWF wrestler caricature. That'll do it.
He's not a lawyer.
He is definitely not a lawyer because he clearly doesn't know anything about the law except for the parts of the law that he's already been prosecuted and found guilty of. And that's how he knows. Either way, somebody's going to win, and I'm not generally happy about it, but I would rather it was sanity instead of insanity. I'd pick the same old versus...
We would definitely prefer to have sanity.
Would we? Would
yes,
we?
Of course we would.
Would we?
We would.
I'm not convinced that the both of us are in that we.
Oh, we
I
definitely
am unconvinced.
I'm not convinced that well, let's just put it this way. I haven't been sold yet on the merits of Kamala Harris or, frankly, the Democratic Party, or especially things such as, the Green New Deal and that sort of thing. I haven't been sold on those merits yet. And I've been looking. People have tried. I've looked into those things to see. Because, unlike some people who get themselves in a place, I used to be like this when I was 35, so now we can trace the math real quick. If you remember me at 35, because you knew me at 35, I was at a place where I thought I knew everything, just like I had thought, when I was 21. I thought I knew everything, and I was figuring that I would be reaching 55 at some point after 20 years, and probably look back on 35 and realize that I knew nothing, which is the case. But at 35, because there were so many things that I took as self-evident, just so self-evident that they were just not arguable anymore, that I wanted to just kind of bypass those parts of the conversation, very much like our buddy Destiny was talking about with our buddy Tom Bilyeu. He wants to take things as self-evident and so that he doesn't have to tread those arguments anymore, and I can totally dig it. It gets exhausting. Here's the but.
Yeah.
But the things that he wants to take as self-evident are completely arguable. And so now at 55, I don't sit there and say, let's not go over these things that we've gone over a jillion times already. I'm going, no, let's cover them again if we have to. And maybe I won't even bother with covering them. I don't want to push back on things like, just as a for instance, a minute ago you said Donald Trump did a quid pro quo. That is arguable. And the real story behind that was, of course, the quid pro quo that he was investigating with regards to Biden. He wanted to know what Biden had been doing with regards to the quid pro quo. It had been Biden that had done the quid pro quo. Donald Trump wanted to know about it, and that was when he made the phone call that everybody then said, oh, here's Donald Trump doing this quid pro quo, when he was really just investigating Biden's quid pro quo. So I didn't want to take a hot minute and push back on that. I was just kind of mentioning it as a side thing. So we don't have to, unless you want to.
Oddly, I wasn't thinking about. I wasn't actually thinking of that, of the Ukraine quid pro.
So what quid pro quo were you talking about?
Nothing particular, but I actually wasn't thinking about that one. I guess now that would be the obvious one. No, getting his lawyers to do stuff, hiring contractors to do stuff, and then
actually,
trying to do exchange, and then.
Would you like to hear the story about the contractors?
You have the story about all the contractors? That'll be interesting.
I can tell you the story about the contractors. It sums up quite simply this. In all of his dealings, particularly with contractors that were in certain states where there's unions involved, there was situations where the contractors didn't totally perform to the exact specifications of the contract. Now, obviously, I haven't seen the contracts, so I can't sit there and say just how poorly to the letter of the contract did they not perform. And they may have felt very strongly that they that they performed perfectly adequately to the spirit of the contract, maybe even better, maybe to the letter. I don't know. But the bottom line is that Donald Trump and his organization, because this had more to do with his organization than Donald Trump himself. The Trump organization felt
well, you can say that, but you can go, oh, the massage center has something to, that's massage center, and that's nothing to do with me. No. I get you. It is all me. It is all him.
Sure. Donald Trump felt then, we'll just put it all on him, he felt that they did not perform to the level of their contract, and the contract was then in dispute. Now, as the contract was in dispute, there was going to be pending litigation during the point of the contract in dispute and the litigation. The contract goes into default. Trump doesn't, or I'm sorry, it goes into disrepair, I guess. Well, not default, but disrepair. Goes into a state of not good. Trump doesn't pay, and the people that do the work then put their mechanics liens or materialman's liens on the property in question, because they're able to do that even while there's pending litigation. And that is effectively what happened. Now, in some cases, the litigation occurred and people weren't paid. And the litigation came back basically in favor of Trump's organization, so they weren't paid. Now, they still were very frustrated by that. I could understand their frustration if they were, feeling in their heart of hearts that they had done a good job, whatever. But the bottom line was that in every case where there was a breach of contract, that was the word I was looking for, breach of contract, the Trump organization had to hire another contractor to finish the work or to do the work up to the specifications that their original contractor had failed on. That is, in a nutshell, more not very nutshellish, the story of the contractors. And I would wager a bit of the devil to pay that there is no exception with regards to that. What I mean is this: there was not going to be a situation out there where the contractor performed, did a great job, was praised by the Trump organization, and they said, oh, by the way, we're not going to pay you. Or, oh, by the way, we're going to pay you a portion of what what we originally negotiated. We're going to put this contract in breach on our own. Thank you. Have an effed up day. I just don't think that happened.
Yeah, I didn't see. There are thousands of lawsuits against him.
Yeah, because we're talking about lots of properties.
Right. I didn't see a bunch of them winning. So then I'm going to have to go, okay, yeah, okay. Oh. The the argument that I would have against the destiny, or your issue with destiny, not want to re-argue things, where you say it's arguable.
It's not really an issue. He's probably gonna grow out of it at some point. When he gets to 55, he's gonna look back on 35 and go, "Man, I was a baby."
All right, there are some things that I don't have to go back to.
We'd like to think that
those are my root. That's my root.
Yeah.
There is no invisible wizard in the sky.
Now, I'd be quick to agree with you, but the second...
Okay, good.
The second that we just completely write that in stone is the second that some damn advanced conscious alien life form comes down from the galactic center and says, "Oh, by the way, we've been here the whole time. We're saving people from dying."
Right. That's not an invisible wizard. That's an alien life form,
right,
that is also susceptible to evolution by natural selection.
Right.
It's just there is no magic. There is science. There is weirdness. There is no wizard, bearded, robed wizard in the sky that cries when wieners touch. I don't have to ever go back to that. And every argument after that, to me, if they're right about anything, that's where they're right by accident. So they're coming to if they ever get any conclusions right, it's only by accident.
I would have to say that is definitely one point of contention that we could definitely say doesn't have to be revisited. You're right. No invisible sky wizard daddy who cries when wieners touch. Here's the only but I would say to that. That entity is real in the minds of people. It sucks.
So is Deadpool and so is Wolverine. They are alive in the minds of people. So I'm not worried about the invisible wizard punishing me in an afterlife. I'm not worried about the invisible wizard causing a tornado because there's gay people. That's not my worry.
Which one are you? Are you Deadpool or Wolverine?
I don't think I'm either.
Oh, come on!
I'm not. Probably. I'm going to go with the obvious. Since I have cancer, I'm going Deadpool.
Oh,
I'll go with that angle. Put in a little reality. So I'll go with Deadpool. But yeah, we don't have to revisit magic. Anything they get right accidentally, I'm still considering wrong. And I don't like them. I don't want to go, "Oh, no, you're right on education because the invisible wizard said we have to control our children." Wrong, you're done. I'm not listening to you on education. You're done. You might be right accidentally, but for the wrong reasons, and you're done. Because every conclusion after that is going to be tarnished and tainted by cruelty and self-hatred and whatever the religion of your choice, whatever flavor of your choice makes you hate about yourself. So I'm done with the invisible wizard stuff. One of the other issues that I have with Trump and politicians in general is when they appeal to the invisible wizard. I know Trump doesn't believe in God. I know Trump has never read the Bible. He can't quote a single thing. I can quote dozens. We've read the Bible. Even if we don't agree with it, it's a text that it's good to know the stories in, and the stories are hierarchical archetypes that are throughout history.
He also switches back between Christian and Jewish when it's convenient, so that's also kind of cute.
Yes. So he's using that for leverage and to get sycophants to support him.
I totally get it.
Okay, politicians, standard politicians.
Not what I would choose to do to win. That's not how I would choose to win. But
right.
I don't know what I'm not in control of his campaign.
He is. So he's choosing to do that. This isn't Trump going, oh, somebody else's fault. No, no, no. He is choosing to do this. So he is bringing in evangelical authorities. And with that, when you put those sycophants in power in your cabinet, what you're doing is saying you're okay with what religious fanatics are going to do to the law. You put in a religious fanatic into a position of power where they can alter the law, and they're going to alter the law in favor of their imagined invisible wizard.
They might try.
Now, I'm sure Biden, well, Trump got rid of Roe versus Wade, not on a scientific basis. He didn't do it on a scientific basis. He did it by putting in conservative judges. And there were judges, all of them said, right, he put in the conservative judges, and every judge, and this was what was making me pull my hair out, it's probably why I'm bald, during their interviews, because they were a job interview, is every one of them lied on their job interview saying, no, Roe versus Wade is a precedent that's been held for more than 50 years, and that is the establishment of the Supreme Court, and we're going to upheld. And then they immediately go back on their word and reverse Roe versus Wade. So they were lying. They were religious fanatics posing as stoic judges, and it didn't even pass the smell test. So Trump forced that in. So that's how Trump, pandering to religious fanatics, changes the law and gets us closer to Christian Sharia. And other countries have done this. Islam, Saudi Arabia used to be a progressive country until the imams got into power. And then suddenly, I don't know how it happened, the laws changed. Now suddenly there's blasphemy laws and they throw gay people off of buildings because of religion. So it's happened in the past. It's still with us. And someone like Trump, I hope you can see that even if he doesn't believe it, and I don't think he gives a damn about religion. I don't think he gives a damn about abortions. And I don't think he gives a damn about queer issues. I think he doesn't care any about that. But the people that are giving him millions and millions and millions of dollars to be in his cabinet do. And so he's going to put them in his cabinet because they are loyalists, he thinks, and they're going to gut the Constitution and make this a theocracy. And that is my problem. I don't think Kamala Harris is going to do that. I don't think any of the Democrats are going to do that. I think most of the Republicans want to do that. And I think that's the draw. A lot of Americans are religious conservatives. They're not fiscal conservatives like you are. They're not constitutional conservatives. They're religious conservatives. And Trump is going, yes, yes, yummy, 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 gimme, gimme, gimme. I'm going to give you all power, because he doesn't give a damn either way as long as he's in power. And that's my problem. That's my biggest problem with Trump and the Republicans in general, is they are religious conservatives, and I am the fuck not.
You raise a compelling point with the notion that somebody might bring in and institute a Christian Sharia.
That is, by the way, Project 2025. That is the whole thing.
Oh, well, now there's a couple things about that. Number one, I read through the Project 2025 stuff because I needed to know just how extreme it was. I didn't really see anything in there that I would consider to be close to Sharia law, particularly Christian-esque Sharia type law. A Christian Sharia type law, is what we should call it. So I don't know much about how much I would buy that one, but your notion of a Christian Sharia type law or an institution of that kind of an extreme authoritarian thing is a compelling argument. Again, I don't think it comes from Project 2025, and I don't even know how much Donald Trump is really on board with Project 2025 anyway. I know that Donald Trump...
I don't think he mostly cares either, but he knows all about it, and most of the people involved in it were in his cabinet, and he handpicked and talked to them every day and talked to them about it. So he's fully aware. All of that is a lie.
Right,
so that's right out of Trump's mouth, lying about, I don't know anything about it. I don't know who was doing it. He's just lying.
That could be.
And you're going to go, oh,
lie.
okay.
Yes.
I mean, he's not going to lie about anything else. Of course he is. He's lying about everything else.
I'm trying to give some due consideration to your notion of the institution of a Sharia type law, Christian Sharia type law, and I'm trying to think of a precedent ever, not just in the history of the United States, but in the history of ever, where that has occurred, so that I can kind of try to visualize it, or even possibly a state. Has there been a state in the last 275 years that did anything kind of like that? You
mean every state that's banned abortion?
I don't think banning abortion is the.
I mean, that's the most obvious one.
Yeah, that I don't. I wouldn't say that's
because they didn't. No, you gotta not excuse it or muddy it or try and intellectualize it. That's one of the bigger issues.
But we can't.
Abortion bans they put in place were not based in science. They didn't go, well, the science says this and we can't go against science. What they did was it goes against our moral and religious beliefs.
That's okay.
So you can split hairs and go, well, that's not Christian Sharia.
Abortion.
No, if they're making laws and banning women's rights based on religious beliefs, that is a religious law.
We got to be pretty clear about exactly what some of these bans are about, because there are some very non-religious, scientific-based, philosophy-based arguments for not allowing abortion.
For what?
For not allowing abortion.
Science-based arguments for not allowing. Name one. One science-based arguments for not allowing abortion.
That it might be murder.
Because I have to tell you,
philosophy?
Science says nothing about it. That's a moral philosophy. That's not science.
Not science then. Not science.
Again, you're getting to moral. You've been conditioned to think that all these arguments are scientific and they're religious in nature.
Okay, that's fine. We'll just stick with morals, and for people who believe that abortion is murder, that is the beginning of a possible argument against the abortion. I'm not saying I subscribe
not scientific.
To that.
It is not scientific.
But then
it is a feelings rights. And religious argument. It's a religious argument.
Right. But women's rights is also not scientific. That's just a religion too. Well, rights, if you want to think about it.
Well, that's true. If you want to break everything down, rights is all just a moralistic judgment, because rights do not exist. We make them all up.
We are responsible as.
But are we going to be bigoted about it and give rights to men but take them away from women?
Actually,
are we going to be bigoted about it and take it away from black people but make sure that white people have it? And these are generalizations. Most of it doesn't exist anymore.
I get it.
But at the point where you're taking the rights away from somebody,
the problem.
I don't.
Right. The thing is that when we're talking specifically about abortion, if you say that women have the right to abortion, then you are taking the right away from the man, because maybe the dad in question didn't want the baby aborted, and he might have been ready to step up and take responsibility for the child.
That is, I'm going to grant you one of the sticky wickets. That, but I'm also going to totally swipe it aside.
That's
a
fine.
Man, because the reality is Mother Nature is not fair.
Right.
It's
exactly.
not equal.
Totally right.
And
she does not give a damn.
So the fact that women get pregnant and men do not, I'm sorry, guys. It's her body, not yours. Just because you fucked a woman does not give you authority over her body.
That's a good argument too. That's a great argument too.
So it's just fucking unfair.
Right.
Cry about it in your beer. Because then you get to the point where, men being stronger than women. That's not fair. We're not complaining about that, though, are we? No. So sometimes life isn't fair. If you are at all, if you are at all in favor of autonomy, self-autonomy, and personal responsibility and taking responsibility for your own actions and your own body, and you are your own, you own yourself. I don't care who you fucked and made pregnant, you don't ever own somebody else.
Right. Well, to be totally clear on this thing, my personal stance on abortion hasn't really changed probably in the last 20 years. I'm a firm believer that parents, ideally acting together, but hey, if the woman wants to have the power of veto, I would say give it to her, and the man does not get the power of veto. But ideally, acting in concert, have the right to abort their child right up to the, let me do some math here real quick.
18th birthday, I know.
Yeah, pretty much.
I know.
I was trying to say 36th trimester, but...
Yeah. I think you're wrong on that, too. I think you overstep it. I don't think 18, which is 18 is a arbitrary number where we've decided that is the age of reason, and then suddenly have rights after that. I think that is also wrong.
I'm just taking the argument out to its logical conclusion with regards to parental rights to kill a baby. I'm going, well...
No, a fetus. Because everyone even God made the distinction. I don't know how we got to anti-abortion through Christianity.
Yeah.
Because a child doesn't actually exist in the Bible until he has his first breath, the breath of God. They don't exist. God loved aborting babies and running women's bellies through with the babies in them with swords. The Bible is full of God telling people to murder children, babies, fetuses. There is instructions in the Bible on how to make a potion to induce an abortion. So God does, I don't know, I do know. It's control over women that men want. I get it. It was super handy when back when we could own women and just murder them and beat them. And as a man, we had super great, good times, right?
There's a healthy on this.
Yeah. But we're all conscious beings, and we should all be granted the same rights, even though we don't all have the same starting point. We're not all equal, but we should all have equal rights. And so the abortion thing is beyond me why we're still arguing it, and every argument against it is a religious argument.
I'll tell you why.
And wrongly a religious argument. If it was an actual religious biblical argument, they would be arguing to abort at the drop of a hat if they thought their child wasn't theirs.
The big question you got to ask yourself is, why wasn't Roe v. Wade ever codified into law?
The same reason that right-wing conservative judges tried to got rid of it. Because the government is made out of people, and the people in charge wanted support from the other people that were. So you get a left-wing socialist woman power president, for instance. They still need to have the votes and the support of 80% of the population, which is Christian. So
hang on. Roe v. Wade got passed and I shouldn't say passed into law, was written out by the Supreme Court in 1970, 1960? What year was that? 60s or 70s, right? It doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter.
Since that time, there have been how many supermajorities on the Democratic side? How many supermajorities? I want to say at least 3.
Right. No, I agree. Yep.
Yeah.
No, I'm hearing you.
Why
I'm hearing you.
Left-wing supermajorities codify Roe v. Wade into law? It would have sailed through.
Right.
Why didn't they do it?
I don't know.
Politics.
Because they're fucking stupid. Because
they are stupid.
They're fucking stupid. They should have.
Because
and they're going to be stupid again.
What they needed, them, the politicians, and we're talking on both sides, it doesn't matter left or right. The politicians needed to have an issue that the American people could chew on like a piece of jerky and get it stuck down in their cud and gnaw on that thing till their gums are bleeding.
Sure.
And that's why Roe v. Wade was never codified into law. They wouldn't codify it into law, and they still won't. And now that we've repealed the decision, the Supreme Court decision, and people are all upset, it doesn't mean anything at all. It just now goes to the states instead of where states before Roe v. Wade, states probably could have still pushed the issue if they had wanted to, but none of them had enough of a conservative, as if we're conservative, movement to do it. So all you had was people bickering, abortion, no abortion, no abortion, 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 no abortion, and that was all that was. Now it's still back to the states, only now you don't have people bickering at the state level. They're just going, well, I can either get an abortion or I can't. If I need an abortion and I can't get one, I'm going to travel across the state line. I'm going to do my abortion tourism thing, and that's all there is to it. And it's a simple thing.
Except they're still prosecuting women for doing that.
And
so you can't. That's not a thing.
How many cases of women getting prosecuted for abortion?
There doesn't have to be a lot of it. There only has to be one. There only has to be one, and that can start the ball rolling.
But is there one? None of these cases are on my radar, and I subscribe to Ground News. I subscribe to Ground News, and I read 90% left-oriented stuff just so that I can try to stay up on the stuff that left-wing people are going to be trying to talk about at me, so that I can come back to them and say, here's where you're wrong. I just don't do that to you.
Federal judge blasts Alabama threatening to prosecute women that obtain out-of-state abortions. So Alabama was doing it.
Now, were they doing that? They were threatening to do it, and the federal judge said, if you do, I am going to come down on you like a ton of shit.
What does it matter what the federal judge says?
Because
Mr. States' Rights?
The federal judge...
What? No, states. It's states. States. Now, states, federal doesn't have anything to do with abortion, right? No, it's about the states. But now suddenly you're going, no, the feds have to step in. Which is it?
The reason why the feds have to step in is because the states weren't letting women use their right to travel across state lines and do whatever they wanted to do that was legal in that state that they were in. The state was trying to apply their state law to another state. That's federal.
Yeah, except their state law was that abortion is murder, and so you commit murder in another state. It doesn't really matter what state you commit it in. If they know you've committed murder, right?
So that's why
take it out to its logical conclusion.
I totally get you. So that's why the federal judge stepped in and said, you're going to have to...
So feds are good now. Feds are good now. Okay, well, just making sure. I'm just trying to find where the rocks are in the water. That's all I'm trying to do. I just found one. There's your rock. When it's convenient, the feds are in charge. When it's not, it's the states. To me, it's very a religious way of thinking. The states are God and always good, and the feds are bad and Satan.
It's not that at all. It's just
Thursday.
The states have to be fair.
Thursday, they said the U.S. Department of Justice, the feds, said states cannot block people from traveling for legal abortion. On Thursday, so they just got to it. Now, I will riddle me this. If Trump gets elected and puts a religious conservative in the U.S. Department of Justice and another state puts a woman in jail for traveling to another state and getting abortion, will that U.S. Department of Justice rule in favor of the feds, or will they go, no, that's states?
I'll go to
you see how it starts to just poison? You see how it starts to poison everything? And you think that's going to bring America, the states, back together again, or make us more popular, make us more prosperous? I don't think so.
If that happens, I will go to the protest with you.
I'm not going to the protest. At that point, it's too late. You're a theocracy. Saudi Arabia still hasn't recovered from it.
If that happens, then I'm moving either to Canada or Mexico with you.
I don't know if that's the move.
Oh, well, St. Thomas is very lovely.
See, the other thing, I get upset about all of this, and you get flippant about all of this. You probably are a little more appropriate. None of this really affects me. I'm a white, cis, middle-aged, middle-class male. All of this is in my favor. All of this regressive, religious, conservative bullshit makes me more powerful. But it makes me gross. It makes us all men gross.
Sure,
right?
Sure.
And I get how conservatives are freaking the fuck out right now, just like how conservatives started freaking out about the printing press. Suddenly everybody's going to know their bullshit. Clutch the pearls. So I get why they're freaking out. And right now, social media is making women act odd. Social media is making men act odd. Relationships are weird. Marriages are down. Childbirth is down. The dating market is terrible. Men are afraid they can't tell if their child is theirs. And all of this chaos. And the right wing, the red pill, is saying, well, we need to go back to owning women and controlling everything.
I don't know if I've heard anybody say
going
that
backwards. No, I hear them say it in the
so
dating.
Many words?
Yes. Yes. Not in owning, but going back. They want to bring back biblical shame and ostracizing of women that they feel are behaving inappropriately.
What?
I can say it very properly, but it's still fucking bullshit. So it doesn't matter how you say it. If you want to shame, and I watched, since I am fairly newly single, I'm not on the dating market. I got years before my immune system will ever let me lick anything on another person, right? So I'm not really in it, but I'm kind of looking out how the waters are before I get there. It's chaos. And the right-wing religious Christian fundamentalists are having a field day saying women are sluts and they should be shamed for doing OnlyFans and fucking all the men. And they don't know it, and it's hypergamy, and women are evil, and men are all angelic, and they just want love and to protect their children. And all of it makes me throw up in my mouth constantly.
You need to stop going to church, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it has been so many years since I was at a church.
I wasn't the one that took you to church. I wasn't the one that took you.
All I'm saying is, I don't see any of this that you're talking about, and I'm going, where am I? What am I focused on that makes me miss all of this that you're talking about? I mean, with regards to, religious people shaming women and whatnot, that sort of thing. I'm not going, I don't see any of that.
I have not been sharing any of these videos. I could load up your messaging feed all day long with the bullshit that I'm watching and getting angry about.
So next question
I don't.
Why do you watch it if it makes you angry?
Because these are the people that get into power. These are the people that vote. These are the people that have influence. These are influencers. They talk about Andrew Tate. They talk about Tim Pool. They talk about the influencers and the right-wing influencers. Well, first, you'd have to prove that to me. Second, he is an apologist for bad behavior as long as it's ambiguous and conservative and right-wing-ish. He claims to be a liberal. I don't think he is.
I've watched a lot of Tim
but
Pool. And I
see, that's really that's your problem, and that's
I don't catch him do anything egregious. I don't hear him being an apologist or being egregious. He's just trying to make sense of the world like Destiny is. Those two are peas in a pod, as far as I'm concerned. They've got different ideas, but they're.
I disagree, but it's not about Tim Pool. The influencers, the red pill influencers, are all over it. They are talking about them, the other influencers, and they are bringing up issues with dating and issues with women and issues with social media, and tying it all together in some conservative biblical move that we need to go back to when shaming stopped women from being hypergamous, right? So that is the slippery road of the handmaiden's tale that I don't like. And
I don't know if I can ever think of a time in history when women weren't hypergamous. Sorry for my stuttering. I don't think there's ever been a time.
Right. There wasn't.
They've always been hypergamous.
There wasn't.
There may have been a time when we shamed women into certain behavior, but that behavior wouldn't have been, don't be hypergamous. That behavior would have been, I don't know what, know
controlling. Controlling.
Sure.
Right. Right, because that's what it always breaks down to.
But do you think that is what people like Andrew Tate are doing right now? They're shaming women into getting them a beer and making them a sandwich?
To not having control and going against men's wishes. Yes, I think it's but my issue with it is the conservative part. Conservatives always want to go back to when they imagined it wasn't real. It was never real. It's their imagination back to when it was great again, back when there wasn't all these issues, back to where their ignorance makes life fuzzy enough where they thought it was better. That's the problem. And going backwards is never going to happen, except in laws. I mean, it might actually. I say that with hope. Progress is accepting where technology is, accepting how it's affecting people, and then try to adjust our experience, adjust our knowledge to better handle it. I think we're going to fail at that too, but that's the only, forward is the only direction that has any sane, rational argument. Going backwards does not, because we can't.
You see conservative as moving it backward or trying to move it backward.
Trying to move it backwards, glorifying the good old days, whatever they thought that was.
Do you see me as trying to move it backwards?
Yes, but not in quite that way. Yes, I do.
How do I try to move backward? I'll try to.
Your conservatism is very capitalistic and political. So your imagined goodness was way back in the day, we had less government probing into our lives and less rules so that men could be men and women could be women and we could just conquer the West. That's the kind of idea I get from you. Less government because back in the day it was better when we had less government, right? Well, back in the day there was less people, so of course we had less government.
I would like to amend that. First of all, when I do say less government, I always add per capita. I add per capita on just about everything because population is something that has been really changing and changing radically just in our lifetime. So I almost always add per capita to any stat that I'm ever talking about. And if I was going to say less government, I would mean that quite essentially very much in that way on a per capita basis. But the way he worded it exactly, and for the life of me, I can't remember exactly the words he used, wasn't exactly how I would probably want to describe it myself, but I don't want to hold it up. So carry on with your explanation. And I guess the big question is, and I think I already know some of the answer to this that you would want, is what behaviors I would have to have in order to not be moving us in a rearward direction by objective standards, not just by perceptive standards.
Well, see, this is where I take a step back into my spaceship and look at the planet from space, from outside the reach of monkeys.
Always a good idea.
And then you have to... Yeah. No, it's not. If you're trying to govern...
Very bad idea.
If you're trying to govern monkeys, you can't govern them from space and pretend you know what's going on. Right? Yeah, I get it.
Why not?
You can't govern monkeys from space and get it right. I'm going to argue monkeys can't govern monkeys anywhere and get it right. But this is where I get into what's the goal? If there's any chance of us as a species getting off the planet and exploring the universe and doing the whole sci-fi thing, if that's your only, because I think that's where Musk is coming from. If you're coming from Musk's point of view, he thinks that there is a huge chance that something is going to wipe out all of humanity, and he wants to do everything in his power to prevent that, to get us on other planets, to get in space, get the technology to protect ourselves, and he will grind every fucking human being into putty and form it into a space shuttle if he thinks that's what's going to work. Right? So as long as the one human brain gets squeezed into survival, everyone else is sacrificed to that goal. I get it. I understand it. I've read that's where you get the hero turning into the villain.
Yeah.
They get a goal that's separate from human flourishing. Mm-hmm. So if you're taking that goal, yes, your stance, less government, less interference with corporations, less regulations, pedal to the metal, balls deep into getting our shit advanced, making money, capitalism, yeah, rah, 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 rah. If that's your goal, I don't think I'm going to even live 20 more years. It's a cool idea. I, as a monkey on Earth right now, would like to not live in suffering and chaos and just heartless competition where if you stumble, the people behind you eat you to move forward. I don't want to live there. So I like to focus, or I would like government, the body that people put together to try and guide us in a direction, or instead of guiding us into the direction of grind everybody into paste, instead tries to uplift everybody and improve everybody's life as much as possible now. So those are the extreme kind of views. I understand them both. I enjoy both sci-fis. Grinding everyone into paste to get into space to visit the aliens, those were some of my favorite novels. Yes, for it. I don't like to live it. We're not the heroes. So I would like to more focus on ending suffering, reducing suffering, making sure our food isn't poisoned, making sure non-human entities like corporations don't ignore human well-being for profit. I'm not even going to blame individuals for being nefarious and mustachio-twirling villains. I think non-human entities, AIs, like corporations that have been, where all the laws on the planet have been aligned for profit, that we've already made the gray goose scenario with corporations. We don't need AI making paper clips and grinding everybody up to make more paper clips. Corporations are already doing that. AI is going to make it happen faster with more power. So I don't want to go that direction. And so everything in my focus is against empowering corporations to have more rights than people, and for empowering groups of people like unions to stand up against those AIs.
Do you mean against those corporations?
Right. Right,
Okay.
Which is an AI. Corporations are some of the first. No, I meant it. I meant that. Corporations are AIs. It is a non-human entity that has been designated to focus on profit and growth. It doesn't have feelings. If a corporation kills,
it's not an algorithm.
It's totally programmed. It's doing what the program tells it to do. It's not a corporation doesn't sit in the corner and just with its thumb up its butt going, oh, it does stuff. A corporation, by its formation, is formatted to do stuff. And its primary algorithm is profit.
I would definitely suggest that you differentiate a corporation. If you want to call it an artificial intelligence, that's the thing. You can call it an artificial entity for sure, but if you want to call it an artificial intelligence, you definitely want to differentiate it from a machine artificial intelligence, because they are way different. And
I don't think they are. I don't think they are. Instead of synthetic nodes, they have people as nodes.
Sure.
Individual algorithms in an AI are just cogs in a wheel to the AI. People are just cogs in the wheel to the corporation. I'm not talking about small corporations like mine. I have a corporation. My business is incorporated, but it's a corporation of two, right?
Right.
So you have a corporation of two, you're fine. You have a corporation of 100,000, it's an AI, full blown. So I don't.
And you see,
we can't differentiate
machine AI, because you really want to make that differentiation. I think I would recommend it.
I mean, we can. I don't really. I think it's the new AI, machine learning, machine AI is just the latest iteration. Okay, it's the new version, version 2.0 AI. Corporations were version 1.0. Okay.
Also, corporations weren't really based on a computer, as it were. It's definitely not a machine.
Yes, it is. It's based on machine and machine learning. We are machines. We are primate flesh bots. AIs are designed after our brains.
Okay,
that's how they're designing AI.
If you did want to make that the same kind of analogy, or that make that as a comparison, then what you're talking about with a corporation is a radically decentralized artificial intelligence, whereas a machine-oriented, or I should say let's say an electronic AI is becoming increasingly more and more radically, by comparison, centralized with regards to its processing and methods and its ability to self-learn. It'd be very centralized.
An electronic AI is more centralized because it has to exist on a supercomputer right now.
At the very least.
But that's only the biggest one. ChatGPT 4? Or is it 3? I think GPT 3 is now running on home computers.
That's great.
It is just fully decentralized.
Just bear in mind, as you use this idea of basically calling a corporation an AI 1.0, when we're talking about the processes that actually get to the end and make a result for that corporation, the processing bandwidth would be, basic flops. I mean, we're talking barely processing binary compared to what
So what you're doing now
AIs.
is you're like a gun nut arguing with me that it's called a magazine and not a clip.
No,
You're wallowing in the weeds that is only a secondary issue. It's so far removed from the point.
We're really talking about the difference between one of those really old musket loaders with the flared out barrel compared to your latest greatest.
I'm also not the one that made this observation. All the AI people that I listen to, Schmachtenberger was one of them.
He made the comparison of a corporation.
AIs and corporations, yes.
Okay, so couldn't you then make the same exact comparison to any enterprise, whether it was incorporated or whether it was political or whether it was just a club?
Like government, right? A government would be another form of AI, yes.
Yes. So any enterprise at all is a version of an AI.
And a religion is an AI.
Sure.
Any amalgamation of humans in a particular direction or to focus an amalgamation of humans to have an outcome is going to be like an AI.
Okay. But I would say that if you did want to do that, I can totally see it. That's fine. But you still gotta keep that in mind, that the amalgamation of any human, and you could take the amalgamation of a great number of super geniuses, would still be, for their processing and result, their processing and output is going to be bandwidth nothing compared to your machine-oriented AI that's operating on a cell phone's video game.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the point was, I don't want to live in a society that grinds up its people.
No, we don't want that.
To make a profit. AI
to have any outcome.
And corporations right now are not aligned. What I was getting to is the big problem that everybody's worried about now with AI is alignment.
Okay.
Have you heard that issue?
Oh yeah, I'm up on this.
Okay. So we have the same issues with government and we have the same issues with corporation. Alignment. And those are, government is slightly more closely aligned with the people because it is regulating the other corporations. Government is for safety purpose.
To be honest, if I could just put in a quick interjection, I would suggest, number one, that if we were going to just go back through history and look at the result of any government, doesn't matter what you're talking about, whether it was democratic, republic, monarchic, who cares? Their results have always been what I would consider to be floundering. Our latest iteration of the democratic republic has probably been the best experiment tried yet. And it's still not there. Now, when you say corporations and their alignment, I think we got to be fair, and we got to say that there are some corporations, or at least at the very least, some enterprises. Maybe they're not all corporations. Maybe some of them are nonprofits, but some enterprises that are in fact a net positive with regards to relieving suffering. If that was the only thing that if that was the only metric we were going to judge them on, was how much do they relieve suffering? There's going to be some of them that come out a net positive. So not every corp is going to come out a net negative. But if we were then to compare, and this is just my humble opinion, I don't have any metrics to base this on, but if I was going to put money, I would put money on it. That if we were to take the government's net result for reducing suffering versus all the amalgamation of every enterprise, corporate and non-corporate enterprise, together, just anything that was not government, and you can throw religion in there throw religion into that basket, that those would come out at the net positive for reducing suffering worldwide, because we have had a reduction in suffering worldwide since 10,000 BC. Carry on.
We have, but we've also had governments the whole time. So
we have.
focusing on corporations, see, that's where we differ. You focus on corporations as being the savior.
I think the government's
and
had
I focus on
negative result, and everything else has had the net positive result.
Yeah, I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong.
I could be. My money is on that one, though, so...
Yeah, sure.
Maybe that's why I'm not
But you're just as poor as I am, so you're not a millionaire. Yeah. I would argue that one of the reasons corporations didn't go fully off the rail, and some of them are a net positive, was because they had government regulations forcing them to not poison people, or to have a bare minimum, not cut corners and endanger people for profit. I think it took government to make corporations any kind of positive. It took both. Government's failing. Right. Government's failing. Government's causing suffering. Sure, governments are not designed to make a profit. Governments were always kind of set up as like a union for multiple people to get together to figure out how to get along with each other. And so as primates, comparing a government to a corporation, you're already just wrong. You're already comparing a train and rails to a fucking monkey enclosure where they're throwing poo at each other. They're different things. Because a corporation succeeded at making travel easier, like the train, it does not negate the process by which monkeys are trying to figure out how to best throw poo at each other without killing each other. Government is monkeys throwing poo. No, I know it's Adam Smith. I know it's the invisible hand. That's why I use the train. Capitalists love the train.
That's not where I was going with that at all. I was going to go to James J. Hill. Surely you remember the story of James J. Hill.
I know the name. Remind me of the story.
Essentially, the steam engine was invented, and everybody thought that it would be a great idea to immediately, as quick as possible, get a train rail track built from coast to coast on the continental United States. Everything was a great idea.
That is why this is the exact reason I use the train. So yes.
So go ahead and continue the story for me then.
That was it. Oh no, I don't know the whole story. I know they like trains and decision to meet in the middle. Two train things, right. Two companies trying to meet in the middle, right?
Yeah. Two companies.
I know the story.
But the whole idea is in order to make it super fast, to make it happen fast, I should say, Congress said, we're going to subsidize a whole bunch of this whole thing. We're going to use American tax dollars to build this train rail. We had two train companies, Western or Southern, it was Union Pacific and Southern Union, I want to say. Union Pacific and Southern Union? Anyway, or Eastern Union. Maybe it was
Details are meaningless.
Who cares? Two train companies.
Yeah.
And because there was so much tax dollars, and the way that Congress decided to do this in their wisdom in 1870, whatever it was, they said...
They didn't have capitalism figured out by then?
They did not.
What?
Congress did not have capitalism figured out, ever. They said, we're going to subsidize you by the mile. So for every mile of track you put down, you're going to get X dollars of however much. And the train companies knew that they could make a profit by putting down as much miles as possible, obviously, and then because it was a race, because it was a race for the money, not so much a race for the meet up. It was a race for the money because they knew that it was not.
So they went off the tracks on the whole purpose.
Yeah, so they went.
Yeah, they went off the tracks on the purpose.
So our outfit that was building across the plains built the tracks in the middle of winter. They didn't care. They built it over ground that was frozen. When the ground thawed out after summer came up, a bunch of their crap fell in and they had to redo it. The other guy was coming up through the mountains. They had to go up and down steep grades, and they were just like going, fuck it, nope, we're not going to try to, do switchbacks. That's taking us way too much time. We're not going to try to tunnel. We're just going to go straight up that mother, and we're going to get over these Rockies. And they built a grade that was, frankly, too steep for the train. There was all sorts of problems. They would do this very meandering track, which ultimately, at the end of the day, did kind of allow for hitting more population centers along the way, so that wasn't bad. But effectively, they ended up being very corrupt between them and Congress. The whole thing got exposed, and before we talk about the exposure, we'll talk about James J. Hill. James J. Hill was also a railroad power baron who wanted to build a railroad going across the northern part of the USA, continental, leaving Michigan or Wisconsin area, Michigan, going into the Dakotas, Montana, and eventually make it to Washington, where he was going to set up in Seattle and do his thing there. And his thing was brilliant. James J. Hill was not part of the Washington thing. He was not privy to getting subsidized monies. He had to do it all from his own thing. And essentially, his angle was, I'm going to give people free one-way tickets. Move your family to the frontier. There's tons of land. You're going to get, the government's giving land grants. You can come out here. You can set your stake up. You can have a farm. You can do your thing. And he was literally responsible for the population of those those northern United States areas. Not so much Montana. It's still, the Wild West up there. But Montana, don't ever change. But he got to Seattle eventually, and he literally put this thing together, one leg at a time, as he had the money to do it. Now, when he got to Seattle, he was already a multi-bajillionaire and doing great. And he said, now I'm going to do the same thing with a shipping company to China. I've got a bunch of these steamships. I'm going to ship out our grain to China, and I'm going to bring grain back from China. And he had worked out trade routes and trade deals with the Chinese and other Asian countries at the time, if I understand right. Mm-hmm. Steel, coal, the gambit. He was all set to do that. Now, the snafu. When the whole thing came out about the corruption with the two railroad companies and all the money all the tax monies that they had siphoned out, there was a horrendous uproar with the citizenry of the continental United States, and they screamed at Congress, and Congress began immediately playing cover your ass, and the railroad companies began immediately playing cover your ass, and the resulting upshot of that was an entire gamut of antitrust laws that came out in the 1880s. The antitrust laws were set up to route this kind of corruption, but at the same time, they had a side effect, an ancillary side effect. And I don't know if it was because of how they were worded, or if it was how it was worked, or how they were interpreted, but whatever it was, those antitrust laws prohibited James J. Hill from continuing with his trade business as he had set it up. And it also prohibited him from giving any more free one-way tickets out to the frontier. His entire business model was destroyed by the antitrust laws, and he wasn't the one doing the corruption. It was the other two.
Sure. So the breakdown would be there were two corporations, two businesses. There were three businesses. There were three businesses.
Let's go with three, yes.
J.J. Jonah.
J.J.
Spider-Man guy.
James J. Hill.
Yes, James J. Hill. And then the two other businesses, one coming from the east, one coming from the west, to meet in the middle. And then there was government that was giving money to two of them. And so you're suggesting at this point that it wasn't the two businesses that were corrupt. It wasn't James that was corrupt.
He was not corrupt.
It was the government. It was all the government's fault. Now,
I'm not suggesting that it was all the government's fault.
Let's take a slight step back. The reason his business model worked was because not the wonderful things he does, because the government was issuing land grants. His whole model was based on government land grants that he had nothing to do with. Yes.
Taking land from the Native Americans. You are correct, sir.
So all those corporations were corrupt. The government was still a bunch of fucking monkeys throwing poo at each other, trying to get along and get shit done, and we never do that well. And so my frustration with you is you keep coming back to, no, corporations are the good guys. And I keep saying, no, none of them are good guys. They're totally different things. And you're trying to say we need to get rid of government because one is good. And I'm saying you get rid of one and the other one's not going to be good either. You're going to have megacorps. There's been thousands of novels written about megacorps taking over the world and then grinding humanity into their business. And those are just people, really smart people. They're really smart people writing stories based on these concepts.
But have the concepts been
That's what
played
science
out in real
fiction
life?
is.
Have they happened in real life?
Have corporations, because of a lack of regulation, poisoned people?
All I'm saying is that
I'm in chemo right now because a corporation gave me cancer because of their product. So I don't hold them generally evil, but I do seriously believe they cut corners and they look the other way. And if there had been more government regulation protecting people from poison, that I probably would not have gotten cancer. So you're comparing apples and oranges. Government is to regulate and help protect, and it's monkeys trying to figure out how to deal with each other. Less of that I don't think is good. I think we need more monkeys trying to figure out how to get along with each other. Corporations are set up to execute a plan, a specific product, a specific goal, and that goal is never the embetterment of all of humanity or trying to get along better. It is a singular thing, like trying to get from point A to point B, to try and make money, to try and take advantage of government handouts, whatever it is. Corporations are not good. They are focusing on a single thing that you can write down a corporate plan and give to a bank so they give you money, right? They have to have a directive. Whereas governments are monkeys throwing shit at each other, trying to figure out how to work together without killing each other. They're not the same thing. And you calling one good and one bad is meaningless to me. Because it's like saying blue is the best, but grape is terrible. Man, none of that makes any sense. That's all like your opinion, man. And it's not real. So that's my frustration. You are anti-government and pro-corporate, and I'm going, you don't know what you're talking about.
I might not.
So
all I'm saying is that our group of monkeys flinging poo at each other are creating perverse incentives, and corporations are just responding to incentives.
Right. And we will always be, yes, but monkeys will always be grouping together, throwing poo at each other, trying to figure it out. Always. You can ban government. You can kill everybody. And then when you get more people, 2 or 3 of them are going to get together, and that's a government. So there's always going to be government.
Well, no, I'm not an anarchist.
Even anarchists believe in government. They just believe in temporary governments. So there's always going to be government.
There's a role for government. But it needs to have a certain place in our life.
An eye on corporations.
Sure,
it's to protect us from corporations. Now, the other thing the government does is grants corporation existence.
That's true.
Governments, long before we came along, were throwing poo at each other and said, well, we need, or this person wants to build something, and we kind of need that. So we need to figure out how they do it. Oh, they need more funds and they need some special rights that everybody else doesn't have. And the government went, okay, we're going to vote to give you special rights, but with those special rights comes special responsibilities. And corporations said yes and immediately lobbied to get rid of those. Immediately lobbied to get rid of whatever they promised to do out of there. And that's always the struggle. And that's why unions popped up.
Well, this is one of the beauties of the United States experiment, because the whole corporate thing that you're talking about here is at the state level, not the federal level. States give the corporations within their state borders the life, and they are the ones that assign them the special responsibilities and the special rights. It's all done at the state level, and if you could keep it at the state level, you'd probably have, I'm just going to speculate here, I could be wrong, but I'm going to speculate that there would be less perverse incentives.
I think you're wrong. I disagree. I think you're wrong. Because at the state level, states are banning abortion. States are taking away people's rights right now.
Sure, that does happen.
So
and when states do that, they lose population. California.
Right. See, that's again where you take you're changing your focus to taking a step way back when, oh yes, states will cause suffering. Suddenly the states cause suffering, but only temporarily until, yeah, that's all true.
Right,
if you take a step back, all suffering is relative, and grind up all human beings into a paste and make it into a rocket ship so we can get off the planet. Sure, you can do that, and you do, and I do occasionally. But to claim states are better, are more holy, or more moral, or do it better because they're states or because they're smaller, I don't. That doesn't connect with me.
Well, one thing about it, the human race is diasporatic. It has been that way since the it's been that way since the beginning of time, and we see it still today. And I think that at whatever point any given individual goes, I'm going to stop voting with my feet, that's when they become at risk to be ground up, as it were. We have to be ready. We have to know that we're voting with our dollars at all times, and that notion never escapes my brain. And we have to also remember that we have to be ready to vote with our feet when that time comes, if it does come.
Right, but there's also other ways to vote. There are other ways to vote. Now hear me out. Hear me out. You could also just vote, right? You can reason. You can look at regulations and laws and proposed things that they want voted on, and then just vote, right?
Right, and
be educated.
And we all do that. We try, at least. We try to be educated and make the right choices.
Yes. We don't have to vote with our dollars. We don't have to just vote with our feet. We can also just vote with our brains. We can do all of it.
I'm saying it's not that we don't have to vote with our dollars. I'm saying we do, whether we know it or not, whether we're trying to or not, whether we do it smartly or not, we vote with our dollars.
Right, but 90% of that is out of our hands. I'm going to buy food because I have to, and I'm going to use dollars because generally I have to.
Right. But you're going to pick.
So saying you vote with your dollars is also almost meaningless when you already find yourself in the middle of a system that you didn't choose.
And in addition to voting with your dollars, we also vote with our time, because we're going to trade our time for dollars.
Sure, because that's the only option we have right now.
We always can step out and make a garden and grow our own food and live off the grid.
Sometimes.
That option.
Sometimes.
It's always an option, and if anything happens to the infrastructure, if the shit hits the fan, if there's a Christian-oriented Sharia law that comes into play, and the shit hits the fan, and there's a civil war, and power grid goes down, we're gonna be right there, doing that. Going out.
Oh, I think the power grid's going to go down long before Christian Sharia gets in charge.
It might. I don't know. That's kind of one area that I have a lot of confidence in, only because I work in it and I see the measures that go into making it.
Everything melts. But I don't. That's my whole issue with you and corporations and government, and that it's your focus.
I know.
It's your focus on corporations, thinking corporations are the good guys, and always looking at governments, thinking governments are the bad guys. And you're going to be wrong 50% of the time, at least.
You're right. I'll tell you where I am right, though. At least I want to be right. The real good guy in the scenario is me. I'm the good guy, and
right.
And I don't even know where I was going with that.
And everybody else thinks so too. We're all the heroes of our own story. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that is true. That whole thing with Musk and the free speech and the lies he's doing, and Trump and freedom and the lies he's making, and the generalized lies that the Democrats are making, all of it is garbage. And my frustration is I'm trying to just make the path that's less dystopian.
Yeah.
And we both want generally the same things, but at different points, we're looking at different problems from different perspectives. I look at the social problems from inside the monkey house, and you look at social problems from the space station.
That's a pretty good analogy.
I look at corporate issues from the space station, and you look at corporate issues from the seat of the CEO.
Or at least from the side of the hill that I'm trying to climb.
Uh-huh. So, and that's not just you and me. That's everyone. Depending on how much they've had their noses rubbed into a particular section of governance, or business, is where different people start to veer on the paths that they think are best. And I don't know about you, but I haven't spent a lot of time in space, and when I go outside, I am acutely aware. In fact, when we go to see a movie in the near future, I think you're going to be acutely aware of the monkeys throwing poo. And you can pretend you're out in space, but we are not.
Well, it'll be a very interesting thing. I can hardly wait. We got to do a final summation because the beach is about to pee pants, and I got to head out to practice.
Practice.
Any final summation words? Or was that pretty much it? The final summation. We get to see. We get to see. Either way, we get to see. Either way, we're gonna find out. We are gonna fuck around and find out. Woo!
We definitely are.
Love you, bro. I gotta run.
Love you too.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye.